Hi, and welcome to Heart and Health Wellness. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Welch. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist with a PhD in medical family therapy, and this is a show where you learn how to care for your mental, emotional, relational, and nervous system health in real life. Not in a perfect world, not with endless time or resources, but in the life you are actually living. This podcast is for people who want to feel better, show up more intentionally, and build resilience without burning themselves out. Whether you're navigating work stress, relationships, caregiving, motherhood, or just the weight of modern life. Here we look at wellness through a biopsychosocial, spiritual lens, which means we talk about your body, your mind, your relationships, and your sense of meaning in a way that's practical, compassionate, and doable. My goal is to help you understand what's happening beneath the surface, build emotional capacity, and make small, sustainable shifts that actually support your well-being. I'm really glad you are here. Let's get into today's episode. Before we jump in today, I want to quickly ground us in two terms that I'm going to keep using throughout this mini-series, just in case you didn't listen to the episode last week, or it's been a few days and you slept since then, because let's be honest, who can remember what happened last week? When I say emotional regulation, I am not talking about staying calm all the time or never getting upset. Emotional regulation is your ability to notice what you are feeling, stay connected to yourself, and respond intentionally instead of reacting automatically, especially under stress. It doesn't mean that you don't have emotions. It means your emotions don't completely take over. And when I talk about capacity, I'm talking about how much stress, stimulation, and demand your nervous system can handle at any given time without tipping into overwhelm. Capacity changes based on what's going on in your life. It's influenced by things like sleep, stress, your health, relationships, workload, and what season of life you are in. So if regulation feels harder some days than others, that's not a failure. It's just good information for you. Now, with that in mind, I want to talk today about why emotional regulation feels so hard in the first place, even when you know the tools. For most people, the issue isn't that they don't know what to do. It's that they're trying to regulate in a system that is already overloaded. And when you are overwhelmed, overstimulated, emotionally exhausted, or constantly on edge, it can start to feel like something is wrong with you, that you are somehow the problem. Like you're just not good at handling stress, or like everyone else has some secret that you've missed somehow and you feel like you missed out on that lesson. But what I want to be really clear about today is that most dysregulation is not a character flaw. It's this issue with capacity. The overwhelm happens when the demands on your nervous system exceed the resources that are available to meet them. That's it. That's the definition. It's not a weakness. It's not fancy math. Your brain and your body are constantly taking in information. Everything from sounds, your emotions, the decisions that you make, expectations that you have for yourself or that others have for you, social cues, responsibilities, and stressors. And so when there's more coming in than your system can process, your nervous system does what it is designed to do, and that is shift into survival mode. And that can look like different things for different people. And for each individual, it can look different based on, whatever it is that you are dealing with. So sometimes this can be things like irritability, shutting down, experiencing anxiety, brain fog, not being able to think clearly, snapping at people that you care about, wanting to be alone, but also wanting support at the exact same time, which is a very difficult place to be in. And here's the important part. You don't have to be in crisis for this to happen. You can actually be functioning, you can be showing up, and you can be doing fine and still be overloaded. So let's talk about overstimulation specifically because this is something that I see constantly in clinic. Overstimulation is not just about noise or chaos. And I hear like this is a real big buzzword right now, but I was overstimulated because it was really noisy and there's a lot going on. And that's valid, but it's also about too much input without enough recovery time. So that input might be things like constant notifications dinging on your phone or being needed by others, having a toddler holding onto your leg constantly, and being in emotional labor or decision fatigue, having work demands on you, social expectations, internal pressure to keep it all together. And so this applies whether you are a parent or you are, in a relationship or you're single or you're working multiple jobs. You might be in a caregiving role or just living in the world right now because there's always a lot going on and there's always a lot in our face about what is going on. For parents, overstimulation often comes from things like physical touch, noise, and responsibility. But for non-parents, it might come from things like constant accessibility, work stress, financial pressure, or emotional caretaking in relationships. So different inputs still have the same nervous system response. And here's what makes that tricky. A lot of these inputs are not optional. So your system never gets to fully power down because they're going to come in whether you try to have some self-care quiet time or not. One of the biggest drains on capacity is what I call the invisible load. And this is the mental and emotional energy that is spent tracking, anticipating, and managing things that don't show up on a to-do list. So thinking ahead, what bills need to be paid, like when are things going to be drafted out of your account? What is running out of the refrigerator that needs to be restocked at the grocery store? Holding responsibility for things, managing expectations, reading the room to understand who's feeling how and what you can do to try and smooth things out, remembering what needs to happen next. That invisible load is absolutely exhausting because there's no clear finish line and it just keeps going. When that load stays high for too long, regulation becomes harder, not because you forgot how, but because there's no space left to do it. So your nervous system doesn't need you to try harder. It just needs fewer inputs or more recovery time. I want to talk about why regulation fails under pressure. And this is where a lot of people get discouraged. They say things like, know the tools, but they don't work when I need them. Or I can regulate when I'm calm, but not when I'm overwhelmed. And that makes complete sense because regulation isn't just this switch that you can flip on or off. It's actually a capacity dependent skill. So when your system is already overloaded, your access to tools is limited. And this is why building capacity matters more than perfect technique. And it's also why shame can make everything worse. That shame, believing that there's something wrong with you, not that you did something wrong, but there's actually something wrong with you, tightens the nervous system even more. But compassion, seeing, understanding where things are hurting and doing something to help, actually expands it. So I'm going to try and offer a reframe that you can use to think about this a little bit differently. If you are struggling to regulate, I want you to ask yourself, what is draining my capacity right now? Not what is wrong with me. That question alone can change how you relate to yourself, how you think about yourself, talk about yourself, believe who you are, and how you handle things. Because once you see regulation as something influenced by the load that you're handling, the context that you're in, the support that you have or don't have, you stop turning toward normal nervous system responses into personal failures. So that's all we're going to talk about today. I know that's a lot. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what actually helps increase capacity in real life, not big routines, not perfection, but small, repeatable ways to support your nervous system that are actually doable. So for now, I just want you to notice, again, do some reflection. It's more powerful than you give it credit for. Notice what's coming in, notice what is not being replenished, and just know that that awareness is already beginning to help you regulate and improve your capacity. Before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you for spending this time with me today. If today's episode was helpful, I'd love for you to follow or subscribe to the show so you don't miss future episodes. And if you have a moment, leaving a rating or review helps this podcast reach more people who could benefit from these conversations. You can also share this episode with a friend, coworker, or loved one, especially someone who might need a reminder to slow down, reflect, or take better care of themselves. You can find me on Instagram or TikTok at Heart and Health Wellness, where I share more tools, reflections, and behind the scenes moments. Thanks again for being here. Take care of yourself. And until next time, be well.